All right, bringing you a great new episode of Angles. Just finished up filming Peter A. and Peter E. Roberti from one and only Adrian Jules, an institution in the clothing world. What an interesting conversation. We talked about building a legacy, maintaining a legacy, and adapting through the years, the dynamics of a really successful family-run business. We talked about leadership. We talked about a lot of different things. They're really, really great guys. Two different perspectives, but you can tell how aligned they are. And I think all of us can get a lot out of this, whether it's about learning about running a business or relationships. It was great, and you're going to love it. So check it out. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Richmond Bona Personal Injury Attorneys. Big shout out to the firm for letting us do this. So hope you enjoy. Guys, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. Yeah,
this
is great.
Yeah, super excited. I know we got to talking a little bit off camera, but I always prepare for these to an extent, but I like to just kind of have a free flowing conversation. But I would be remiss to not start with talking about like the institution that is Adrian Jules. I mean, you guys have been around for over 60 years, and I got to start with you. I would love for you to kind of tell the story about how it came into existence and essentially how you got to where you guys are today.
Well, a lot of it's really a lot of hard work, persistence, being obsessed with the business. My dad started a company, and the first couple of years in the business, his accountant said, he goes, Adrian, you made $16. You should go back to your old job. And his thought was, you know what? I got to work harder and smarter. And he just really instilled that into, my brother and I and our whole family. And then we passed that along to our kids. And it's really just always wanting to try to be the best, to be remarkable, to be remembered of how you do things and what you do for people. And it's clothing, but it's like we change people's lives with the clothing that we make for them. And then, you just constantly building on it, seeing the vision that things change. When the business started, people were wearing suits and hats and ties. Now, going down the road and things have changed, and you had COVID, and, the lifestyles of people change. You see a lot less ties. You see people more relaxed. People are, people evolved with their clothing, and we had to do the same thing. And you got to have the vision to see what's coming next. Yeah. If you don't, you get run over.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. We were just talking about this, and this is something that comes up all the time. No matter who we talk to, successful people in all different industries, walks of life, whatever, they all have that passion. Right, the passion for what they do, the passion to be excellent. Nobody can be perfect, but if you try relentlessly, and you can settle for excellence, that seems to be the common thread. It's interesting to hear you say that because it's remarkable. Not many businesses last for 60 years, let alone continue to grow and have the success that you guys have. How's it been for you? I mean, you have a unique perspective. You've grown up in the business just like your dad, but different generation.
Yeah, it's been. Like you said, you've got to be passionate about it, and I think that we're operating in a growth mindset right now. I mean, 60 years old. I mean, we opened up 3 years ago. We opened up a brand new showroom in Rochester. We just opened up one in Buffalo. We're looking at a couple more locations here in Western New York. So I think. Like my dad said, we've got to continue to evolve, and we've got to adapt to what we feel is coming in the clothing industry and what trends we're seeing. So, but it's super exciting. I feel like it's just, we're very fortunate to be a part of it. And it's interesting though. I wonder, what we're showing right now with the jeans and the more casual wear, what my grandfather would say, because it was all suits and sport clothes for him, but we're doing a lot more casual stuff now. So, but that's what guys want, and that's what we're doing. So,
that's interesting. So first off, I will say this, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting in front of me. I hope you understand. It's actually because I study a lot of businesses, especially family-run legacy businesses. It's very rare to have somebody in your position who understands that and wants to keep growing, keep evolving. Usually there ends up being a struggle between, say, someone in your position and then your position, where you're trying to get the business to adapt, to maneuver. But it sounds like it's like you guys are united in that effort.
Well, yeah, and I think, well, I've always been the one to say, okay, let's try something different, and let's keep expanding and keep going new. And having Peter and everything into the business pushes me maybe even a little bit more. Yeah. So I guess a lot of times you sort of say, okay, I've done enough. Let's sort of relax and work similar. But if you're not growing, you're going the other way. Yeah. And I think you got to keep growing. Yeah. And you got to keep expanding. I mean, like the showroom in Buffalo, I mean, I had clients, when are you going to open? When are you going to open? You open up the one in Buffalo, and guys like, it's a different way to shop. I mean, you come in and you go to most places, it's, it's a cookie cutter. You got the same thing. Yeah. Here it's like, well, we can do a different fabric. We can do different stitching. You can do a different line. You can use a different make. You can just make it just for that person, which it's impactful.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you, what's the saying, like dress for the job that you want? I mean, it's not the one that you have. It does change the way you feel, like your confidence level. It's a big deal. I mean, it really is. I always tell people, like, because sometimes, people, they would talk to me in the past, like, oh, well, that type of suit is more expensive. Like, yeah, but, I'd rather have a couple of those than 10 suits that are just kind of out of the box that actually equal the same amount, right? Because you're gonna how much better you're gonna feel.
Sure. Yeah, and just to touch on what my dad was saying, and I'm super grateful. I think that both myself and my cousin Alexa, who's also involved in it, my dad and my uncle have always supported us in the goals and where we see the company going. But they've also, when we first started, like we started from the ground up. I mean, we started sweeping the floors and, just earning our way. And, I think that as much as they've supported us in the growth, they've also made us earn it too. Yeah. Like we've had to do all of those things to, they made it clear, like, hey, we built this, and if you want this, you've got to earn it. You're not entitled to anything.
That's smart, right? And then even earning the respect of like all the employees that have been with you forever, and they see the family come up. Like you got to prove yourself. It's almost like you almost even have to be harder on guys.
Oh
like
yeah,
you, right?
Yeah. You gotta work at it and do it. Yeah. I mean, I was with someone yesterday, and he was in our showroom, and he was saying, "Oh, look at all the things that you got, the articles written about you, and this and that." I said, "Yeah, that's all great and everything, but I'd rather talk about the future." And he looked at me and goes, well, the past, yeah, I said, it's all good stuff that we've done, but let's talk about the future, where it's going. The past, someday I'll sit there and talk about the past, but I'm not there yet. Let's keep going and talking about the future and keep going.
Yeah, and I got to imagine, too, that as much as you guys have grown, I mean, obviously the company looks a lot different than when your father started it. Obviously, it's to say the least, right? But I got to imagine that the core principles, values all remain intact. And I'm curious about how you manage that and ensure that they're kept intact, through growth, and that they're continue to be passed on to like the next generation.
Yeah, that is every decision that we make. Our principles, our foundation, on how we make the decisions has never deviated away from that. It's always been around. Not only doing the best of what we can do internally, but also giving the best service, the best experience, like, the best fabrics. Like we've never competed at, we've never competed on the lower end in terms of, the fabrics that we use, the experience that we have. It's always been the stuff that nobody does. Yeah. Like when we would go shop for fabrics and stuff like that, we'd go for the stuff that was on the top shelf, and we'd have fabric mills saying like, nobody looks at that stuff. nobody, and we said, well, we want to show our clients that. We want to give them something that nobody else could give them. So that's always how we operated. And that's, to be honest, that's how we've stuck around. The companies that kind of went towards the the lower end stuff, they're not around anymore.
I mean, years ago when Adrian Jules started, I mean, in Rochester there was numerous amounts of factories that made clothes. I mean, people migrated to Rochester, to make clothes, and one by one, everyone chased it to make it less expensive and put more machine work and whatever it was. And that's one thing that my dad always said, you're not going to do, we're not going to do. We're going to strive to make it the best and make sure we always give the best. And, on a table, he goes, one of his things was at a table, underneath the table, you want to have it finished.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that. No one touches it and feels it, but that's what you want to do. So it's really what we put between the garments. It's the fabric's really nice, the lining's really nice. It's what's the foundation, what's between the garment, the fabric and the lining that makes the big difference.
It's a huge deal. It's kind of, it sounds to me essentially like you want to use the legacy, the history, like the original why as a compass. Not, I think some people look at it as a weight, like, oh, we got to continue to carry this weight. But I can tell you guys are just really proud of it. And it's like, hey, how do we continue to stay true to those values, but then also adapt, right?
Yeah,
100%.
We want to make sure that our clients, whatever it is, they always look good. And guys say, well, I lost some weight. I got to bring it. It's like, no. You lose some weight. We want you to bring the garments in because people know we make your garments. And if they don't look good on you, that's not a good reflection on us. Bring them in. We don't charge for the alterations, but we want our clients always to look good and feel good, and that's what it's all about. When you look great, you feel great.
It's 100% true. I mean, it's true. I mean, everyone knows it too. That's like one thing that everybody knows, right? How do you? I would love to actually hear about the process of like going out, finding, the best materials. Like, how do you do that? Like, yeah, it seems like you guys are doing so much, but that's at its core so critical.
There's a organization, it's called the CTDA, Custom Tailors Design Association of America. So that organization, actually, my dad's been a president of it. My Uncle Arnie been as a president. I'm the current president of it. Awesome. That's where all of these mills and all these custom tailors come in, and we have conferences, and we do it four times a year, basically. And that's where a lot of the education is done to get certified. In terms of to get certified, that's where all the mills come in. So that's where we do a lot of the buying.
Yeah, a lot of buying. And it's interesting with some of the super high-end fabrics and the real exclusive fabrics. I talked to a lot of these mills about it and say, well, how come other guys don't sell it? And he goes, well, first of all, we won't sell it to everybody because it has to be made, we want the garment, the fabric, to be made a certain way, and the construction of that garment needs to be at a certain level. So if you're having the garment made overseas, a lot of times they won't sell you the fabric. It's like, no, we don't want our fabric being in that garment because it's not going to perform right. It's not going to look right. 3 years down the road, it's going to give us a bad name that, okay, I bought a Vicuna sport coat or whatever it is, and it didn't perform. I didn't like it. Didn't look good. So when these guys, the first time that we dealt with this fabric Vicuna, which is the finest in the world, you can't get, that's
the
it.
best.
That's the best that you can get. The gentleman said, he goes, we'll send you the box and we'll send it and you can show it to your clients and whatnot. But everyone who buys one will buy more than one. And the garments they're not inexpensive. They're expensive. And I was like, I don't know about that. He's just trying to sell fabric. But in reality, everyone who purchased one purchased another one, and it's really just the feel of it and the quality of it. And when they get it, they just said, there's nothing like it. It's like getting a real expensive watch or a real nice fine wine. It's not meant for everybody, but the ones that get it, they will. So we're lucky enough that when we go to these trade shows, they want to show us the best of the best because the make that how we make our garments, it's equal to those fabrics. So it's just, it's like, and we talked to other stylists and whatnot at these shows, and they said, no, I never saw that fabric because they don't use us to make the clothing. They don't have their clothing made by Adrian Jules.
It really is like the relentless pursuit of excellence. And it's, I'm sure, I could just tell from talking to you guys, like how passionate you are. And, it gets, at times it's exhausting, right? But even though it is, you're like, yeah, well, whatever. This is what we do, and then you find a new energy, and you just keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, and it's you guys. I think a lot of business owners can learn like some really strong lessons from you guys about that, but also about the client experience. I would love for you to talk about the attention to detail of the client experience, even if you wanted to touch on kind of when people come in for the first time, and all that kind of stuff, because that's huge.
Sure. Yeah, I actually, that was one of, I love everything that I do, but one of the things that I was super passionate about is the client experience. I literally I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about how we can improve the experience when an individual comes to our showroom. But when we were building out like Rochester and Buffalo, like, I mean, we were down to the detail of like the beats per minute for the music and where the speakers were going and how the lounge was set up. You know, we put velvet along the wall so that in our lounge area it would absorb the, you know, if people were talking. Like, you know, we have a special coffee machine and the temperature on the coffee so that way, you know, it's a little bit warmer. And we just, anything that you could think of in terms of the experience, like we went to a different level, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but it goes with both sides of the company. I mean, with the retail side, I had a very good friend of mine who this is what he does, and his dad helped build some men's stores, and he has been a client, and then I said, well, we want to have one of the nicest stores in upstate New York. And then on this one, when we did Rochester and Buffalo, I said, I'd like to have one of the nicest stores in the U.S. or the country. And he goes, we can do that. And and the stuff that they would say, and they would, you know, we would go over, and it's like, I never even thought about that part, or never thought about that part. And it's like, oh yeah, well this will enhance the experience for the client. And it just makes it better and better. And then on the wholesale end, when my brother and my niece Alexa, the shop is set up, you know, similar to like, you know, you hear the manufacturer like Brioni and Keaton. The shop's set up a lot like those. So it's
old school.
It's old school. It's done the way it should be done. And then people come in and say, wow, I never thought it would be like this. You know, you people sitting there sewing it by hand, and, you know, it just makes it their livelihood. Yeah. You know, we got the best people there.
In our showroom, when we were building out the first showroom, we talked about these exotic fabrics and where we're going to put them. And I don't even know how it came up. We're like, why don't we build a vault in the showroom?
That's awesome.
So we had a custom-made vault built for all these exotic fabrics. And,
you know, it's like a safe
now.
And this and that. It's like, and they, you know, it's like, okay, you know, and this is, you know, it's for the specialty fabrics. But once you get them and you start wearing them, it's like, it just feels that much better.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but it's, to me, old school is so important, right? Mm-hmm. Old school with like a new twist, but like really old school. I feel like when I think of old school, I think of like, it sounds simple, but there's a lot that goes into it, but it's like not cutting any corners ever. Like no matter what, no matter how hard it is, whether you're losing money on it or whatever it is, like you just do not cut corners. And to me, like that's old school, right? And even to, you know, the personal relationships that you form with your clients. I mean, I know how you guys operate. It's not just, hey, come in, we'll never talk to you again. It's like you get to know these people, like what makes them tick, and I think that's a huge thing, right? Personal relationships. I'm sure you've been knowing how important that was for a very long time.
Yeah. And
that's how we built the business.
Yeah. Well, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, and people say, well, people come from all over the country to buy clothing from Adrian Jules, or you go see them. It's like, yeah, and it's like, how do you even do that? It's like, well, it's really more about than clothing, because you can get clothing anywhere.
Yeah.
But you can't get the clothing how we deliver it, how we make it. That's really what it comes down to. It's really finding out more about you and what you want the clothing to do. That's the big thing, I believe, and it's super important. I mean, if clients just say, okay, I lost weight, I put on weight, let's get together. And, you know, I was just with a gentleman this week. I want to get my wife some clothing. You know, when can you do it? And we talked, and he goes, let's just go. And then he goes, as long as you're coming out here to take care of it, we're good. I mean, it's all about building a relationship, and it's the trust factor. They trust you, and that's the important thing, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more, though. I think that we still, like, in our showroom, we have the sewing machine that my grandfather started the company on. You know, one of the sewing machines. We still keep that in the showroom, like you said, like as a reminder, like this is what we stand for. Like this is the heritage and the legacy. Even though the showroom's nice and modern, like those are our roots.
Yeah.
And I talked to my brother and I said, "Oh, we got to just change this lapel a little bit." He goes, "You don't realize all the work that goes into just doing that. We're not just going to change it. It's got to fit the collar and the lapel, and there's more to it, so that when the end result is, it doesn't look like it's a homemade garment. It looks like it's a handmade garment that it's really presentable." So there's a lot research and development that goes into everything.
Do you at any point? I always wonder about this when, like we'll call it like the younger generation comes in.
Sure.
Whether now or maybe not now, early on, did you ever feel like the pressure of maintaining the standard that your dad, your grandfather put into place? And because it's a high standard.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. I think you got to embrace it. It's the like, I think with anything that you do, there's different levels of pressure and I think that like, it's funny when we first opened up Buffalo, and even like when we were talking about even Nashville and everything, like I remember talking about to my dad, and he's like, "Well, you invited this, like this, and we were working, we're working so many hours." He's like, we've got to embrace this. I mean, I think that like our goal is like, I love to work. I mean, I love to work. I'm super passionate about like, if that's the goal, is just to work hard. Like, I think pressure, it's part of it. You know what I mean? And I think that like, if we're working really hard and we feel that pressure, that means that all of those other things like marketing, our operations, like all of those things are all dialed in. Yeah. Because we're working, and because those are all dialed in, we get to work hard and we get to work on the things that we really love to do. Yeah. So I think that part of that, you feel a little bit of pressure though.
Yeah. There's a saying that pressure is a privilege.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It's kind of cliche, but I think it's true. Right. It's you create it for yourself, and you have to learn how to embrace it and use it as motivation. Right. Yep. So in how everything's operating now, what is your role, and like what's your role? I would like to hear like kind of like how you guys work together.
Well, I think we're in a spot where we're kind of transitioning it over, and I think that our goal has always been for, when we do make an announcement, it's kind of like, well, I thought Peter was already running the business.
Smart, smooth.
So and listen, that took us a lot to get there, but I think that, we're, in the spot where we're kind of making the decisions, are both together, but, continuing to hand off more and more to me, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
And then when we do make an announcement, it's like, oh, well, the whole team should be saying, like I said before, like, I thought he was already owned it or ran it.
Everyone's like, well, nothing's going to change. Like,
nothing's going to change.
It's already, it's already moved forward, and things have been in place.
I would love to hear from your perspective, because, Peter's coming in, obviously he's earned your trust. How does it feel as somebody who's been running this business for so long? I'm just curious what it feels like to be at this stage of your career. I mean, you obviously must be immensely proud, but I wonder, how it feels to be stepping back a little bit.
Well, so a lot of the things that Peter does, he takes them and embraces them and goes forward with them, and they seem to, most of them, I don't want to say all of them, but 99% of them work all the time. But there's always ones that said we got to tweak it and make it work a little bit better. Yeah. But that's made my life probably a lot easier, and but I've always worked hard my whole life, so now it's like, okay, I just do different things at the shop, and I'll probably spend a little more time not working as many hours or whatever it is. But I never really thought about it as hours. It's like, I want to get this done, or someone's coming in, whatever it takes, it takes. Yeah. So, I spend a lot of time there still, but a lot of the day-to-day things, or the growth pattern of what we're doing, Peter's taken on and enhanced it and embraced it, which is really good. There's some things that, I used to ask my dad or even my brother. There's experience. Like, oh, did you ever deal with this before? And it's like, oh, yeah. And then, Peter or, even any of the guys, they say, oh, it's like, oh, yeah, just do it this way. And it's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. But, I've been around for a long time. So, there's things that I've dealt with, or, different things that I've dealt or seen. It's like, well, how would you, and it's like, yeah, it's just do it this way. It's pretty simple. But going forward, it's been a blessing that he's been able to, he takes things on and he does it. And I don't have to really think about it because I know that they're going to be done right, which is good, which is really important.
That's a trust. I mean, even though he's your son, I'm sure you made him earn that trust.
Well, I mean, but it's like, he just, but he just, he does it and he just, it gets done and it's done right. I mean, done similar the way I would probably even do it, or probably better than how I would have done it.
Yeah, I think like my goal, like I've always I feel like for me, if my dad could just do every day what he loves to do, like all the things he loves about this business, like that's the goal.
That's awesome, and not have to deal with all the other stuff.
Yeah, if there's other things.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
We could leverage it out. We could find somebody to do that. But if he could just do the things that he loves to do, he could stay in this till as long as he wants.
Did you ever second guess wanting to be in the business and get to the point to take it over?
I don't think it was never nothing was ever forced. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
So nothing was ever forced, and no, I don't think there was never one time where I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It's always been natural.
Yeah. Did you what's been your journey on like learning how to be like a leader, a businessman, whatever you want to call it? I mean, obviously you get to learn so much from, your father and your uncle and everyone involved in the business has been there for a long time. But, I know it because I see it, whether it's through LinkedIn or wherever, like you definitely have really embraced, being a leader and understanding what it takes to run a business. I'm kind of curious, like what you do to like stay on top of things or how you kind of got to this point.
Well, I think that you've always got to continue to be learning.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate enough, we've got some really, really good clients. And I think that by every time, when I first early on, one of my clients said to me, he's like, Pete, you don't realize the opportunity that you have. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you get to meet with some of the most successful people in the world. You should be asking them any question that you have for business. You should be asking them, and take something from each one. And to be honest, that's what I've done.
That's so smart.
And
I learn the most from other people, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I mean, we've got, when you think about leadership, like. We've got some.
Yeah, we got some great, and that's how I started. I mean, you make clothes for the people who come in and get our clothes are business leaders, successful
people. They want to help, and then you ask them, they want to help you. They want to pass on their knowledge to someone else, or I don't know if it's all mentoring or whatever you want to call it, but they want to see you grow, and and they can say to themselves, I sort of helped them do it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Most of our clients, anytime you ask them for help or you got an idea, they got multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies that they're successful. They're willing to help.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, actually. You have to be curious, and you just have to be willing to ask the questions. And what you'll realize very quickly is, especially business owners, we all are in like this like group together where we're at different stages of the business or wherever, but we all understand, whoa, thank God I had that conversation with that one person, or that one person was willing to give me their time, because I learned so much in just one conversation that helped me not make a huge mistake, or help me think about something just a little bit differently. It's huge. And because that was actually, I told you guys, I don't like usually warn people about the questions I'm going to ask, but I told you guys, I was like, I would love to know, and you don't have to name anybody, anything like that. Just curious if like in your head, there's like a lesson you learned from one of your clients that kind of sticks with you or made you think about something differently.
Yeah. I think I would say communication was probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from clients, or, I would say communication. And when I say communication, I think that how strong your communication is with, whether it be, with my dad, with my wife, Joelle, with our employees or our team that we have, like the stronger your communication is, I think that it directly correlates with the growth and the vision of your company. And I think that how strong you value the relationship when there is an issue. I think you use communication and you do it quick.
Yes.
So so that is directly correlated. How quickly you're willing to have that conversation to resolve that issue is how strong that relationship can grow and how strong that relationship is. So I think that
I 100%. Like, that's so true. I mean, so many people sit on conversations, they stew over it, they avoid it, and then once you get, and look, it can suck to have like difficult conversations, but usually like the other person appreciates it.
Absolutely.
That you actually took the time and you cared to have the conversation.
So anytime we're having a tough conversation, like, I like to lead with, like, this is the goal. Before I have this conversation, here's the goal I want to have.
Sure.
This is the goal I want to have with this after I'm done with this conversation. This is the way I want us to feel.
Right.
And then we talk through it.
That's interesting. Do you have you learned to like maybe like adapt your communication style depending on who you're talking to?
We've taken some of those.
Yeah, I know
like I've seen like stuff on guys' desks. They're like, "Oh, I'm whatever." It might be.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We haven't. I feel like I could adapt pretty well to the individual.
Yeah, I think. Look, I've taken all those tests, and we use some of them. Not so much for communication, but to understand our people a little bit better, or say, "Hey, this person operates really well. If you have a tight deadline, they don't need a lot of information, they're quick, they'll just get going." Or this person, probably not the best situation for them because they really want to think this through and they're not going to move fast, they're going to feel uncomfortable. But I agree with you because like there's a lot to be made of, okay, well, you got to like butter them up first and then give it to them like this, or this person wants it direct. And I guess there's some truth to it, but I think it's like if you have good intentions and you're just open and honest with people and they know you care. Like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? I think that's the biggest part, right? I'm sure you agree too.
Yeah. I think I got to agree with you. And I think it's really, you got to talk and communicate. Don't send an email. Don't send a text. Talk to people.
I've learned that lesson the hard way.
Talk to people. That's what you got to do is just talk to them because, you can read, the inflection of their voice or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's how they're really thinking.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. And I'd say pick up the phone and talk.
Yeah.
Don't send an email.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I remember we do this thing at the firm where a couple times a year we do 360 reviews, meaning like everybody is getting reviewed, including me. And for myself and my business partner, we ensure that it's anonymous. So because we want people to be brutally honest about giving us the feedback, how we can be better. And like the one piece of feedback I got, which I really took to heart and like started thinking about, was they were like, look, when you could send an email and deliver a message, and maybe I'm like pushing people to whatever it is, but you could, when you send the email, it comes off as like aggressive or passive aggressive, or you seem pissed off. You then could deliver the same exact message in person and we're like motivated.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, this guy cares, like, let's go. And I'm like, well, in my head I was just doing the same thing and I didn't do it in person because I didn't want to waste your time, I was just trying to get this out. I'm like, okay, lesson learned. And that's like, again, old school. Like, go back. You got to maintain those personal connections, right, and have those in-person conversations. You guys seem like you get along very well, but I have to imagine there are disagreements, and I'm curious, like how you handle them. Like, if there's a process or how you kind of sort through that.
Well, it's like, I think it's kind of like I said before. I mean, I think that we want to have those conversations quick.
Yeah.
And if something's bothering us, we talk about it and we work through it. And I think that I remember when I first started. Yeah. All of a sudden, like you let those keep going down. You let those keep going, and you keep, and all of a sudden, you don't put the tape measure back, and then where it's supposed to be, and the whole world's ending. And it really wasn't anything about the tape measure.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So now it's just like, what if something's bothering us? I mean, I think our whole team, that's kind of our philosophy. We want to talk about it, and we want to talk through it now. And I think that they value that. That communication, I think, is super important.
Yeah, for sure. As you see the business growing now, especially from your perspective, I think, did you mention that you guys have a location in Nashville now?
We've got a team in Nashville. Yeah.
It's a great city. It's a lot of fun.
Love
there.
that city.
Yep.
How do you ensure that as you scale and get bigger, that the standard never comes down? Like it's always a super high standard. Do you ever worry about that, or how do you just make sure that you're passing that along?
You know, I think we have the people that work with us, and then you have that trust with them before they even start. The person in Nashville I've known, the people in Nashville I've known for a long time.
Right. Okay.
And then you know that the trust with them and how they're going to treat people and how they've done business before. So it's easy to bring them on with Adrian Jules. And then they got to have the same philosophy. And if they don't,
Passion, Tom.
the passion. And if they don't, you know it after a little while. And it's like, who are we fooling?
Yeah.
I mean, you can teach people how to do certain things, but if they don't have the drive that they want to take care of the client and make sure the client gets the best experience and they have the best results, it's not a good it's not, it doesn't blend.
Well, and I think that my dad would agree too. If the decision is whether or not to grow or to, mess with our legacy, I mean, we won't grow. I mean, like it's just not worth it.
For sure.
Our legacy and our brand is the most important thing. So, as we continue to grow, we've always been just kind of, we've been slow growth, not opening up all these stores all over the place. It's just because the legacy and the brand is the most important thing.
Yeah, I see that in my industry actually a lot, where firms have a little bit of success and then they just start growing so quickly and they compromise the thing that led to their early success, which was like the intense focus on the client experience, being the best you can every day, learning, constantly being curious. And then it's like, okay, we just want to be able to say that we have an office here and here and here and here, and we hire these people we don't even know. We just throw them in there. We have no oversight, and then the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes. And then we'll say, with the stylists that are relatively new or whatever with us, it's like, it takes them a long time to get that done. But we've been doing it for so long, it's pretty simple and easy. But then it's like, okay, they're given the proper experience, and then people come in and give them the stylist gifts and this and that. It's like, okay, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So that people are going out of their way to bring in a gift or a card or going out of their way to tell me, it's like, oh, it's the best that your guys. Oh, okay, that's great. That's what you want to hear. It's more than just the clothing. It's more. It's meant It's usually something meaningful in their life that we're part of.
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of what you said earlier, which actually resonated a lot with me. We're like, people see news articles, and I know you guys have gotten tons of awards and all this kind of stuff, but it sounds like to you, like those little gestures, like a client coming in and saying like, hey, just thought about you, Merry Christmas or whatever it is, that means the world, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's those little things. I mean, that people, they don't have to do. They go out of their way because we made their clothes. Well, they go out of the way because we were part of something in their life.
That moment in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that too. Like, it's so nice. It's crazy. Like you'll have a client who maybe you helped 4 or 5 years ago, and all of a sudden you get a Christmas card.
Yeah.
Or they send cookies in, and you're like, wow. That's what it's all about, really. At the end of the day, it gives you perspective like pretty quickly, especially if like you were losing it a little bit. It's like, okay, reminder, this is why you're doing this.
I had just this week, a client came in. He goes, "This is my grandfather's jacket, but I want to wear it." And I looked at it as from 1969.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, because I saw the label on it.
1969.
I didn't even show you the label on it. I said, that's the first label they ever put in coats. This coat's really old. I'm trying to see the date, and I could see the date. And he goes, do you think you can let it out, or what can you do? Because I want to wear it. I want people to know that I'm wearing my grandfather's jacket. That's, he passed on to me.
That's
and I
really
said,
cool.
There's certain things we can able to do, and we I don't know if we're going to do it so it looks right, but I'll do everything we can to make sure it fits you. And I said, you might have to lose a little weight, but it is what it is. I mean, you can only do so much. He goes, well, if I got to do that, that's what I'm going to do, but I want to wear it because, it was just, to me, it meant a lot. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. It's, 50-something years old.
I think it's amazing how people tie what they wore to certain moments and events of their lives.
100%.
You know what I mean? They're like, I remember when I wore this and I wore that, and it brings them through clothing, whenever they wear it again, it brings them right back to that moment. And I think that feeling is what they're.
I would say, like, especially a really nice bespoke custom suit. Like, you just know. Like, I can remember, I've told you before we started this, like, my first ever custom suit was with you guys. My dad brought me there in Irondequoit. I went through the whole thing, and then we talked about, shout out to John Vanderbrook, like seeing him on Monroe Ave. Like, I can like remember all of it.
Yeah.
Like the experience where I wore it, whether it was a wedding or to this thing, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It really sticks with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
And we see now, even more so in the last few years, that grooms are doing it. So we do a lot of grooms and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, and guys say, it's like, every time I put it on, I think of that day. Or, or they have it in their closet and they just look at it and they remember that day. And, one of Peter's clients says, well, if I gain a little weight, well, that's what we got good tailors for. But the bottom line is that, it's a memorable time of their life, and it's one of the biggest days of their life, and we're part of it. And, they get to remember it every time they put it on or wear it or see it.
For sure.
But like you said before, that those little gestures, those little things that nobody else really sees, those are what that's part of the why.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why you do it, right?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I'm curious, like I told you before too. I mean, like it is really extremely rare for any business to last 60 years. Extremely rare, let alone to continue to grow and be extremely successful. Have there been some, like, maybe some things you think in your mind, like some missteps or some failures that actually ended up helping you? Like, you're like, wow, I tried doing that didn't work, but that actually, because I went through that, it actually ended up benefiting me?
Yeah, there's been a lot of them. I remember going back years ago, we were trying to do some marketing, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go and do it. And it came down to, I was spending more money than the company was making at the time. And all of a sudden it's like, you can't just try to do, be market to the masses. That's not our business.
Yeah.
So you got to really define it, and guerrilla marketing, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, it takes a lot of hard work on your end. And, I guess we go to the Custom Tailors Designers Association, and there's guys there you learn from and say, okay, how'd you grow your business? And it's our exact business, so they'll tell you. And there's been plenty of things that I've messed up, and there's things that just didn't work. And my father used to say, well, we'll give you enough rope, but we're not going to let you hang yourself. But and it worked. And there's ideas that Peter says he wants to do, and I said, well, we tried that 25 years ago, but you know what? Things have changed. He's got a different aspect on it. Go for it.
Yeah.
We've tried to open up a store, but I mean, it didn't work out. But we said we've learned a bunch of things from that, and then we opened up then you tweak your vision a little bit. Yeah. Then it's like, okay, now our vision right now is to be when people think of custom clothing in Western New York, it's got to be Adrian Jules.
That's awesome.
It has to be. Mm-hmm. Like that is the vision. So if they want the best, they come to us. And
there's places to get custom made clothes, but we make it right in Rochester. It's right down the road. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can come and see the factory. There's no one to really. There's 3 places in America that make custom made clothes, and we're one of them.
That's amazing.
And it's just different. You get them made from us, or you get them made in Italy or England. That's the competition. I mean, that's it. You're not going here and going there. It's really, there's one level.
What is maybe something about your business that you think nobody knows that maybe you find interesting, or you think you would like people to know?
That's a good question.
Nobody knows.
It could be something small.
I think that there's, we talk about, I think that there's a perception that, even talking about this now, I feel like we're building it up, that, like going in there, like, it's like, but we're just regular guys. Like, we had an event at the showroom. We had a brew off. Like, we had homemade beer, and people brought their beers in, and we just, we're just regular guys.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think that one thing that I would say is that whether what we take everybody through the same process, whether they're getting their first interview suit or they're CEO of a publicly traded company. Everyone goes through the same process, and that process is different. It's unique. We sit down and we talk. We might not look at fabrics, for the first 25 minutes of the, you've been into the showroom. It's really getting to know the client, their lifestyle, developing a relationship. So that way, when we do look at fabrics, and we do start talking about the silhouettes and how they're going to wear their clothing, their lifestyle, it's curated for that individual. So I think that the one thing I would say is one, we're just regular guys that like the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. And two, the shopping experience is completely different. Like you can't just go into it and go into our store and buy something. Like it's really about the relationship, similar to your business. It's about the relationship, so that way, we put them in the proper clothing.
Yeah. I think sometimes people could be intimidated by it, especially like the first time going through the process. But you just tell you guys make people feel super welcome.
We try to have it. Someone comes in, you say hi to them, you greet them, and they come in, and a lot of it is that people think like, oh, you get to style all these beautiful clothes and everything. That's the beginning part of it, but it's behind the scenes stuff that we got to make sure that the shirt gets done in time and the pants are the correct length. And did he want cuffs or did he want belt loops or did he want English side tabs? Was it a double? Those are all things that we got to think about and we put down to make sure the client gets what he wants. And we make it stressful on us because we want to make sure that you get the garment that you want and it's flawless.
Yeah. I got to imagine it's humbling too to have clients who've been with you for a long time. You get to kind of watch them like go through life, get married, have kids, then their kids come in. Like it's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's special. I think that I think that's we're doing more and more weddings, and I feel like, that's just the weddings are special because I think that we've had the grooms and their moms in. They come out the wedding, the changing room. They're wearing their suit, their tuxedo or their suit for the first time. There's people crying in the showroom. Like it's this whole thing that we're very, very fortunate. And and I think that like what your dad did, wanting to kind of pass that tradition that we've got clients that that have been with us for 10, 12 years. Their sons are older. They want to, give them, kind of that feeling and get them their first suit. And, to be a part of it's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. And I think it's more about just like seeing the dad and the son, that relationship and that experience that we were able to bridge that for them. Yeah. So and that bonding, it's pretty special.
Yeah. Awesome. And then we, one of my dad's clients, who's now one of our clients, we started selling jeans and whatnot. And how old? I don't know if I should say old, but how old this client is? He goes, who would ever wear dungarees with a sport coat? That just says. It's just how we've evolved because he would never ever even think about doing that. But that's just you have people who've been there forever, and then guys, the father of the bride. It's like I have guys that bring it up, and he's on his third daughter now, but the first one he still brings it up, and he goes, that was like the special moment, and I took my coat off, and he had pictures of his daughter when she was, cheerleading and this and that. He passed around a coat. Everyone started crying at the wedding, and he goes, that was like the best thing in the world. He goes, I won't even wear that tuxedo again. That's like a savoring point for my life that you guys were part of it. I'm like, oh, okay. When he says it that way, all of a sudden, it's super meaningful. Yeah. It's like something that we were part of for him.
I think that's one of those things too, like, you can't prepare for the feeling that you get when you go through something like that with somebody. Yeah. It's maybe you've thought about, oh, that'll be nice to be involved in that with people. But once you actually get to feel it, it's like, okay. That fuels a passion for sure.
Oh yeah.
We have like a lot of business owners. I don't know if I should say a lot, but business owners who listen to the podcast. But what's maybe one piece of advice you'd give to maybe somebody who's thinking about starting a business? Like maybe like, hey, make sure you have this, or if you're doing it for this reason, don't do it. Like maybe what's like a piece of advice you think about for somebody who actually wants to start a business?
I think that people give up too early. And I think that the difference between like, you know, where we are and some of the people that have gotten into our business is that we just never gave up. You know, and I think that is often one of the main factors between a business that makes it and the one that doesn't make it. Mm-hmm. And I think that you've just, you know, one, not to give up, two, consistency and discipline. So I think that you've got to have consistency and you have to have discipline, you know, both with, you know, the things that you do on a daily basis and also discipline to, you know, you can't just go after the next shiny thing. You know, you've got to be disciplined in terms of your roots are, what made you, you know, especially like for us, you know, what made you who you are. Yeah. And I think that the last thing I would say is that you got to go for it. You got to take the first step. You know, and I think that's how we opened our showroom in Buffalo. I was on Main Street in Williamsville, and this space was available. And I called him. I called my dad. I said, I think I found our space. And I don't even know if we were looking at the time. We just said, this is our space, and we just went for it. Yeah. And I think that's what you got to do. Yeah. You got to just go for it.
And then, you know, they say 10,000 hours makes you an expert in your thing. Yeah. A lot of people do it, you know, $4,000 and then they give up. And then there's certain things you got to just pass on and decide this is probably not a good move for me to do. But, you know, you look at it and say, oh, okay, that 10,000 hours, you know, is there people successful in that business? Saying, okay, yeah, I can do it. You know, to become a doctor or whatever it is, you got to learn about all certain things that I think they want you to learn that stuff because they want people to drop out. Yeah. You know, and in our business, it's like, oh, yeah, you can do it, but there's more to it than just, you know, showing a piece of fabric and say, here you go. There's a lot to it, and you got to stay with it, and you got to just go. You got to be motivated to do some action and make some work. You can't think about it too long. I don't care whatever it is. If you think about it, there's always a reason why you shouldn't. Sure. You got to just go, and you got to just say, I can do this, and I'll work through it. We'll make it happen. Yeah. It's not, you know, I can't. We don't say that we're, you know, it's like, this is an opportunity. Whatever it is, it's an opportunity. It's a situation. We'll take care of it. Mm-hmm.
And I think you've really got to love and be passionate about what you do. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like, you know, you're going to be, you know, you'll quit real quickly.
Oh yeah, like I tell people, that's like the first thing I usually talk about is passion. I'm like, look, if you're trying to start this business just because you think you're going to make money, do not do it.
Do not do it.
Because you're probably not going to make money for a while, and what's going to get you through those tough times if you don't really believe in what you're doing, if you're not really passionate about it, you're going to quit. Yeah, like you're not going to get through it. Yeah. So as we kind of like come to a close here, I just had kind of like one last question for both of you, especially I think it's interesting where you both are in the business and your relative careers. And I'll start with you. How do you define success personally?
How do I define success? You know, I think that, you know, I get up every morning. I have my family, my faith. I have my health. Everything else is things that I can work on. Mm-hmm. They can make you successful. But as long as I got my family, my faith, my health, that's the main things for me. And then, you know, everything else is just part of it. I mean, you know, I don't think about, you know, I just think about this is what I really, really enjoy doing, and I just keep doing it. I enjoy it. It's more fun to do it than not.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky because he got the question first, and I'll ask you to say you got to think about it for a little bit.
I'm like, is he going to ask you the same question?
Like, keep going. I'm thinking about this. No, yeah, same question for you. I'm curious.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that success is directly connected to my family. I mean, that is the big why. I mean, is our family, you know, and I think that's why I do it. It's just for my family, for my wife Joelle and my son Anthony, and I think that you know they are the most important people in the world to me, mm-hmm. And I think that in terms of on a business side from success, I think that we've got a big picture, you know, of my grandfather along with his sewing machine in our showroom and in our office, and I think that. Thinking about what he would say to us as he looks down on us, I think is not knowing what he would say, but feeling that I might have I could paint the picture on how he might say it to me. Like, I don't know what he would say, but I have a feeling I know what he would say. I think is always striving to live up to his legacy, I think is what drives us, and is the ultimate success. If that is that would be it.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is amazing. I really appreciate you guys doing this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
It's great
thank
for
you.
having us here.
Thank you.
Super grateful
Great.
for
Appreciate
this.
it.
Thank you
This
so
is
much.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.